Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I want to give you some of the insights that we had from chatting to the developers during the week. We had an almost 3-hour call with the developers during the week, which is basically, it's interesting, right? Because I saw Jay Giggs reacted to Ash's video on this, and Jay Giggs was saying, why do they even do this call if they don't have like a bunch of answers, a bunch of things to announce to us? What's the point? Well, interesting enough, the point of the call specifically is not to announce stuff and to make videos about. In fact, they sort of want us not to do videos about them. The point is for the content creators and the developers to be able to sit down face to face and actually have a conversation back and forth about the game. And yeah, by having a back and forth, that the developers can take some notes and get a good feeling for what's really bothering content creators in our communities, which does not, by the way, and it's something that they also point out as well, the content creators like on YouTube mostly, they don't represent every player, right? And they're a huge chunks of players for this game that we really are, and our communities don't represent at all. I mean, if you are on YouTube looking up guides about Raid Shadow Legends, like you're already probably in the top 10, if not top 1% of the most like engaged and hardcore players. You know, like it's pretty hardcore looking up guides. Like there's plenty of people that just play the game casually. They're not looking up guides not extensively, or maybe they look up a website guide. Like yeah, like our audiences are pretty hardcore, and that's the way it is. And even within our audiences, there's a huge range of opinions. But yeah, there we go. Of course, it's the only problem is, of course, if my opinion ever differs from yours, then we've got then that comment section got a problem. Now, if Nub doesn't agree with me, the individual commenter, he's probably lying. He's dishonest. He's being paid to do so. Lots of people love insulting me personally when I don't agree with them. I'm like, Nub, just be honest. I'm like, I don't think you want me to be honest. I think you want me to pander to you. I think that's what you're really saying. I think you're really saying you've got, you know, no emotional maturity and you are entirely reliant on external affirmations for your beliefs to be. Anyway, I'll go off my soapbox. We've got enough to talk about here without me jumping on a soapbox. Yeah, the point of the call is for us to talk face to face, which it's interesting. And I think that positive stuff has come of it before. And I like epic empowerment is one thing that they really didn't see the point much of epic empowerment. And after one of the previous calls we had with them, I've missed a good few of them, unfortunately. But I was at this one. But yeah, the one epic empowerment, that was something they said, hey, we put that into the game after chatting to you guys about it. And we're like, yeah, okay, cool. And who knows, like the Minotaur Super Raids, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff that you know, we have influenced at least a bit as well. And again, we're not everything, we're not the whole community, but we do a bit. I will say, you know, one thing that people say about Plarium as well is that, you know, they don't care. They just don't give a shit. And I think that's very unfair. So, like, the fact that they sat down, we were scheduled in for an hour and a half maximum. They stayed for over 2 hours, 40 minutes. Like, they stayed for ages, extra overtime. And, like, they're a couple of hours ahead. So this was, you know, at 6, 7 o'clock at night over in, yeah, probably past 7 in Poland. Like, it's pretty where they're based. The devs we were talking to, you know, they put that time in. So, you know, I don't know, like it's interesting. It's interesting. But what specific things did they say? One which was interesting, of course, that came up, which is the hot topic, was the fusion. Any plans to nerf the fusion? And certainly something that's very interesting to me was that they said, no, we have a really good idea for what he can do, and it's fully intended. But what was interesting to me about that is that, you know, it's that they have a good idea for what he can do. That it was the first time I think they ever talked about their testing process in much detail, which was that they obviously, when they have new champions, within the dev team that's making the champions, they obviously test it themselves on their own accounts, and they try to complete content with it. They also have like QA testers for like bugs and stuff. And then they also will outsource to people not in the dev team. They'll outsource some of the champion testing to them so that they can get a kind of outside perspective, someone that's not, you know, helped or been involved with the developing the champion, that they can come in and then they will test out the champion with lots of combinations and lots of different scenarios and try to give a bit of an outside perspective. So they're at least from their perspective, they're very confident that they have good testing happening for champions. I don't know. So, you know, take it as you will. I feel like there's no point really in me giving, I don't know, much opinion or anything here. I feel like people just think what they want. and they don't care what I think. They just want to hear what they think told back to them. That's yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but that's it. They've no plans to nerf the fusion. We'll see. I still think it's a big question mark. You know, it's so funny because I think they keep saying we're not going to nerf the fusion, and everyone keeps saying we don't believe you. I think that's basically the situation that we're in, which is kind of a mess. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we've got too much to get into. I won't give my thoughts in this video. We can maybe do another thing talking about what I think about it. Yeah, we'll see. Now, one interesting thing as well that I asked them about, I did a video on this recently myself, is I talked about the event dungeon and faction wars hard, and are they too hard? Now, interesting about the event dungeon, they seem to be saying that yes, they did feel that it was too hard and that it will be different in the future. It doesn't sound like they're going to change the existing one. But I think that in the future, they'll probably make it a bit easier. So that's interesting. Now, on the other hand, with Faction Wars Hard, and by the way, apologies, I've not been doing, but we'll come back to some of these factions that I've skipped. I do, but I just haven't been in the mood to do videos on it. It's been too busy. So I basically just did like quick little 1 or 2 star runs of a few factions. I actually did Lizardmen properly. But yeah, we'll come back to the ones I've skipped. I might actually do Dark Elves later today. We might actually do one. But generally, they said Faction Wars hard. Yes, it's crazy hard, but that's sort of what they want to do. They want it to be, you know, a really long-term thing that for most players to progress on, and that when you get new champions, new relics, and stuff like that in the future, or anything in the future, that this will help you, and you'll come and you'll progress through it. That it seems to be like they. Again, I talked about this in my video, and yeah, I think a lot of the points I brought up were things that I think they were saying as well, which is interesting to me. As you guys know, again, to summarize my video if you didn't watch it, I think that actually, broadly speaking, the difficulty of Faction Wars Hard isn't actually that great. Again, if you look at this, I'm clearing most of it, right? So for me, taking that as a milestone, or not a milestone, but a point of comparison, my account, how strong is my account versus clearing the content, I personally think it's maybe a little bit too hard, but it's not miles off the mark. That this is an almost 6-year-old game, and you need, you know, content like this should be, you know, for players that have played a really you just need to collect a lot of champions, a lot of gear. This is very long-term content. That seems to be what they how they look at it as well, and it sounds like they've got no plans to change anything. Again, I think you could rebalance the bosses a little bit. I think some of the bosses are too hard, some of them are too easy actually as well. Some of the conditions I think are bad. Doesn't seem like they're going to change, but yeah, I think there's a few conditions that, you know, it'd be like use counterattack or ally attack, but there might not even be any epic champion that does it, which to me is bad. I think there should always be an epic champion that's a decent option for a condition. Yeah. Anyway, that's the whole thing. No plans to change it. They intend for it to be hard. And yeah, they were saying, hey, anyone who actually completes this, massive achievement. So you know, fair play. It's normally going to take people ages. Again, I think there's a bit of a design. This would be my big thought on it, is I think the way that they structure this with like, ooh, your timer, you're running out of time, you've got to use your keys. Ooh, look at all these stars you could get today. I think the way that they designed this, and it's going to be a criticism throughout a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about here today. I've mentioned this before as well, but I think that the way that Faction Wars is structured and the presentation, it creates a lot of this FOMO and this pressure that, ooh, I must go get the stars and I must clear it now. And if I am not coming in and if I'm not getting all these stars with all my keys, then I'm falling behind and I'm missing out. And I think that leads to a lot of angst and anxiety and stuff like that. And I think it's a problem with the game. And I think the way it's designed, you know, they do not intend for players to come and 3-star every single stage that's open to them every single day. They said that that's really not our goal, but I think that the way that it is presented makes players feel like that's a goal, and that's really important. That's how the players feel. I think that's how a lot of players feel. I've seen many comments. That's how I felt as well playing it, and people find it stressful, and it leads to a very negative experience of the game. So I think that would be something I would be saying is, I wonder if they could, something for them to consider. I don't expect anything, unfortunately, to happen because it'd be a pretty big change. But I wonder if they could do anything with this sort of content in the future, more long form content, to make it less stressful. But yeah, the game sort of thrives on, like, FOMO is sort of, as you know, kind of a core aspect of the game. and it's hard to get the right amount of FOMO. They go pretty hard on it. I think this goes too hard, but hey, there we go. Another really interesting thing, there was a lot of discussion about quality of life stuff. And one thing that was interesting to me, I think they said 20%. It was either 10 or 20% of the developer's time is spent on quality of life, which they see as a pretty significant chunk. And again, I do agree with one of the broad points they made, which was the number one priority is content. There must always be content in the game for people to do. So producing new content, keeping the content coming. I see many YouTube comments very frequently like, don't add new champions, don't add new content, just work on quality of life alone. And that is something that they do not do. And that's not how they see the game at all. I do agree with them on that as well. And just for me, from my perspective as a content creator, the most negative community sentiment always, without fail, comes when there's a lack of content. I do think perhaps that's a bit of a problem with Faction Wars Hard, that for players that can't actually do it, it's been a long time. It's the last major bit of content was, well, I guess we had live arena seasons. That's been a while ago. Again, players might not feel they can actually do any of that. The event dungeon, I think live arena, Faction Wars Hard, event dungeon, you've got and then we've had Chimera before that, which is quite old at this point. It's months old, 7 months old, I guess. But yeah, those 3 bits of content might be so difficult that people feel like they can't do it. And I think that leads to angst. Because I do think we're at a negative community place right now. But every year, basically, I could basically schedule it into my calendar. Like, okay, Nub, you have to rate that the raid is dying video. So many views. And you'll see all the content, loads of content creators will do it, right? Schedule it in for like October, November. If you want to be real good, you should have like at least 5 or 6 of these. About the game is terrible. Everything's terrible. The sky will always fall down in October, November. So you want to maximize the engagement, the views. Plan it out, because that's when they always do a big content drop in December. So yeah, I actually do agree that content is key. I think some of the quality of the content has been a bit dodgy, but I do think that dropping all content production to do quality of life, I think would be much worse, and people would just be. I think it would actually ruin the game personally. That's certainly what they seem to think, and it seems like that they're not budging on that. That's my take on it. I'm telling you what their take on it is. So yeah, there you go. Interesting as well. They said that the last patch that we had a lot of quality of life. Again, I was very critical of the quality of life, very critical that has come in this recent patch. Like, for example, I saw someone today with a reroll quest. I think they had win Hydra, and they're like, I don't want to do a Hydra battle today, so re-rolled it, and came back with win 3 live arena battles. And it's like, bro, what the fuck, bro? Like, to win 3 live for an average player, let's say you win 50% of the time, and each battle takes 5 minutes. You'd have to do 6 battles. It's half an hour to do one damn advanced quest. And like, yeah, sure, there's some rewards in there, but that's just dumb. And now you just have to do all 10. Again, I feel like we go back to this idea, and like I said, it's going to come up multiple times, and how they design the stuff and what it makes players to do. I feel like some of the conception here is just a big swing and a miss. Has been to give players an option in terms of what to do. Again, what I would be doing with these advanced quests would be like, here are 12 advanced quests. You complete 7 of the 12. And yeah, you could have rerolls for you could have like 3 rerolls for any quest. Reroll any quest. Any 3 of them as well. I don't know. Like, what the heck? Give people some options. And the idea of optional is like, ooh, I can pick the ones that I want to do. And then I can skip the ones I really don't want to do. So yeah, the Hydra one is obviously one that's really stupid, because it's a weekly game mode. These are daily quests. It's just stupid that it's in there, right? But at least you could then go, well, okay, that'll be one of the 5 I can skip today. That sort of thing. And that, to me, is a better, in my opinion, is a better sort of optional sort of design. But yeah, I was very critical of the quality of life, but apparently there's a lot more also coming in the next patch as well, that these 2 patches have a big focus on quality of life. Hopefully the next patch is some better stuff. And they were also talking about with quality of life, one of the key things they're trying to address is time spent in game. Obviously, that's always been a concern. Really interesting one, again, touching on the quality of life with silver. Big discussion about silver. So we had a big discussion about, like, what about just the permanent free gear removal? Just you can always freely change your gear, and that to me was really interesting. So they were saying that it's actually not a simple change. That they get the feedback all the time. It's a really simple change. Just turn on, which I say, right? It's a simple change. Just turn on free gear removal, and it'd be great. And they say for them, actually, in terms of game design, it's actually not simple because it's changing the game economy and how silver is designed to work in the game. I think that would be a good thing. I think silver is too punishing, but they clearly want it to be that way. So yeah, so that they feel like if they put on free gear removal all the time, that it would change the game economy. And I think at the very least, it's not a quick change. That it's the sort of thing that changing the game economy would probably be the sort of thing that requires some fairly substantial designer meetings to actually work out what the impact of that's going to be. There need to be quite a lot of discussion and analysis of it. Like it's not a simple change. Though again, I still think it is clearly something, in my opinion, they should do. One really interesting thing was that they tested on new players. They said, okay, for new players joining the game, they gave some of them free gear removal, and they gave some of them big chunks of extra silver. You might have seen this, like, 7 million silver for a new player. And what was interesting was they said that the 7 million silver led to players being much more engaged, like more engagement, more playtime, more gear rolled up, and all that, like all that stuff, more gearing, just everything. I think that this engagement was higher for the players they gave bonus silver to than the players they gave free gear removal to. Now, my take on it is that it's for me that would be fairly expected. Actually, that makes total sense because a new player, yeah, free gear removal, you don't even have much gear, if any, in the first place. So what are you going to do with free gear removal? Like nothing, right? But a big chunk of silver at the start of the game, I mean, you've got no gear. You need to roll up literally everything needs to be upgraded. So there you go. I mean, I think it makes a hell of a lot more sense for a new player that a big chunk of bonus silver would help. Now, I will say, I don't really mind. Again, they one thing that they talk about is they try to address underlying problems. So again, for me, I think that free gear removal is just, it removes a lot of stress from the game in terms of silver management. I do think if they just gave us way more silver, I think that also fixes the problem. As in, like, okay, yeah, it still costs a bunch of silver to swap gear, but if I've got loads more silver, I'm not so stressed about managing silver all the time. It's not so big of a deal. Like, again, for me, I think either way could solve it, so I don't actually mind too much. I do think that just free gear removal all the time matches basically other games, especially new games in the genre. You pick up any other new game and you can freely swap gear. So I would be surprised, very surprised, if a player who's trying out a few gacha games, they can freely swap gear in other games, and they come to raid and they go, oh, wow, it's costing me loads of silver to swap my gear. I don't see how that doesn't put them off after they've been playing for like a month or so, and they go, wow, shit. Well, I actually, now that I'm past in my opinion, you've got the very start of the game, the first couple of weeks are great, and then you hit the grind, and it's quite boring. At a certain point, you do hit a position where you're starting to progress in the different dungeons, and you're building up different teams. You've got some ability to, use different champions. You actually have multiple champions ready to go. And then you go, wow, but I can't swap my gear. I can't actually, I can't really try out, to push Fire Knight Castle properly because I've got no silver to do it. Yeah, so again, I personally really do think that permanent free gear removal would be ideal. I could also see way more silver. But yeah, again, they were saying it would be a pretty big change to the economy and require quite a lot of meetings. I'm like, that's fine, bro. Go for it. Personally, yes. Yes, I think definitely change all that stuff. But it's again, like, that it's interesting to me that they tested this stuff, that they have been, and this is not something that they've been just did in the last week. This is something that's been going on for months, is that they've been looking into it and they've been testing. Okay, big free gear removal events, A/B testing with new players, gear removal versus bunch of silver and that sort of stuff. I just do feel like testing bonus silver versus free gear removal for a new player is not really reflective of a long-term play. I think a long-term player would be very different. And I think the longer someone plays, I think the more free gear removal is better than just a bit of bonus silver. But again, if you want to give us a load of bonus silver and just up the silver income substantially, that works for me as well. Not as good, but hey, if that solves the problem, cool. Because again, it's the lack of silver which is the big problem. So solve the problem. The solution, so long as it's, in my opinion, simple, a simple solution is the ideal one always. But yeah, another quality of life thing we talked about, and this was interesting to me too, because we were bringing up a few of us been playing Etheria Restart, right? Which I'm actually getting a bit bored of now, by the way. I really enjoyed the first few weeks of that, and now again, it's sort of a lack of content, and specifically with that game, like people were complaining. I saw on the forums the amount of complaints from people on the forums is just crazy. And again, it's part of the reason why I'm a bit flippant about Faction Wars Hard as well. People saying it's too difficult. Like with the Etheria Restart stuff with the new game, again, like I saw people like legitimately massive forum posts being like, I should be able to beat all of the hardest levels of the dungeons in this game with my whatever, my 5-star, not 6-star, my 5-star epics unbooked, with shit gear. I should be able to fully clear everything. And you go like, should you, or are you just, you just want a big I win button with shiny graphics, which personally I don't respect much myself, to be, again, brutally honest. I'm sorry if that offends you. But within Etheria Restart, they've got way better background battles than Raid, yeah? So they have, you can have infinite, you can only queue up, you have to clear the dungeons in a certain amount of time. By default, once you've beaten a dungeon, you can do 5 background battles. If you beat it quicker, you can do, I think it's 8. And then maximum, when you've 3-starred a dungeon, you can do 10. Or 3-starred any floor in the game, you can do 10 background battles. So you can only queue up a maximum of 10. Whereas in Raid, I could come in and I could queue up, like, you could queue up 400, you could queue up 1,000, however multi-battles you have. But they're unlimited in that game. There's no limit. You don't run out, right? But you can only queue up maximum of 10 at a time, but you can do anything else in the game. Like if I queue up an event dungeon, like in Etheria Restart, I could queue that up. I could do any other dungeon. I can basically do I can do arena. I could do Doom Tower, Curse, anything. I can do anything except the event dungeon. I could do other dungeons. Doesn't matter. I can do anything. They even work when you turn off the game, right? So this was something they were talking about. So for Raid, they were saying with background battles, their main goal is to improve the background multi-battles that are here right now. Because, look, these background multi-battles, you basically just sit in your Bastion, right? Like, we can put some on. My team's not 100%, but we can start a background battle, and, like, what do I do? Like, I can roll up gear. I guess I could pull some shards. I can do some, gear management and stuff and some tavern stuff. But you basically just sit in the Bastion, and you kind of look at this screen and go, that's cool. Their goal is to enable you, I think, mostly live arena. I think they just said live arena, the dev. I think just said live arena. I don't know if they intended for classic and tag as well. I would hope so. But their main goal is that you be able to do arena while your background multi-battles are happening. Now, we also talked about the offline stuff. And interesting, they said that they were playing... and it was fun because one of the devs has definitely said to me before that they don't like the anime games. So it's interesting that they are actually checking out Etheria Restart. Because I think that game does some stuff really well. And then it's some stuff that don't work so well. I think a lack of content and a lack of new characters. That was why I went on a tangent. But yeah, I saw lots of people complaining they're releasing characters too often in that game. And I'm actually sat now a few weeks into Etheria Restart going, what am I going to do? Like, is there going to be any new content? I've got most of the characters. And it's really fun getting all these new characters and building them up. But now it's really going to slow down. And it's like, where will the game go? That's a big question mark for me. Is there anything to do? Is it just grinding for... And there's never really going to be enough new stuff? Going back to Raid, to be fair, something I personally really enjoy, and I think probably a lot of you enjoy more than you might realize, is that they do constantly add in a lot of this new stuff and a lot of new champions. And it definitely has downsides in terms of power creep and stuff going a bit crazy. And I do think that there's a big problem in the game of keeping challenges fairly challenging and having some sort of game balance. I think that stuff, it's like a train, and the more you add on to the train, the more mass it has, and the harder it is to actually control that thing, and the easier it is for it to start going out of control. I feel like that sort of rakes is a 6-year-old game, but I think content is king. I think they do pump out the content, and yeah. In fact, I want more content. What was I saying? But yeah, we chatted about offline back. They said interested. They're not opposed to it. They're not totally opposed to the idea of background multi battles, offline ones that you could queue it up. Like I could put in my things, turn the game off. I come back in a couple of hours and go, wow, the 67 runs are done, and we're good. Now they said one of the big reasons they're reluctant to do it is that they don't fully see their game as like an idle game. And they prefer for players to have stuff in the game that more actively engages players. Now, what I would say to that is, I mean, let me look, for example, here. Like there's this dragon tournament, which I have to do as part of the fusion. Now, you might not believe this, folks, but there's not going to be any active gameplay whatsoever for me for the. I just gonna slap on some multi battles and walk away. Now I've got to leave the game running on my PC, but this might shock you to know there is zero engagement happening for me. This is just a boring chore, and I would actually improve my experience if I could just do this properly in the background. If I could just get it done offline, that'd be great. I actually feel like there's been too much stuff taking my attention in the game recently. Manual Hydra keys, which I despise. This mode is years old at this point. I've no interest in manualing that, but you still have to manual certain teams. I cannot hate that enough. Chimera for maximum keys needs at least some manual play. Obviously, Faction Wars Hard has been a huge manual time sink. Live Arena is a huge manual time sink. There's like gear cleansing. There's a ton of stuff for me to pay attention to in this game. I have felt overwhelmed. Please, this is my plea. Please give me some offline battles. There's tons of stuff in this game where I'm not engaged. Like a huge chunk of this game is an idle game, and there's nothing wrong with that. And offline background battles, it's just really improves the experience of the idle aspects, in my opinion. It's the reason why a lot of idle games do have significant offline things. Effectively, that's what I'm doing with. I do wonder if they just see that, because they probably can't tell, right? Like, me sat here at the Bastion, they're probably like, wow, this player's played for 10 hours a day. They're super engaged. They're having a great time. When in reality, I'm, whatever. I've just I often, like, honestly, with this event dungeon, the runs take a while. I just leave it on. I walk away. Like, I go walk my dog. I leave the house. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm like, fuck it, just stick it on. Like, I am not an engaged player, but I do wonder if their stats are saying, wow, Nub played for like 10 hours today. Wow, he's loving the game right now. I'm like, Nub wasn't even looking at the game. I don't know. They might get more if they put in offline background battles, they might get more accurate stats. Hey, who knows? Now a big discussion. I'll tell you as well. The call was almost 3 hours long. That was a struggle to get through. I'm like, I appreciate that they're putting the time from their day to do that. That's super cool. But I'm like, maybe a 5 to 10 minute, bathroom coffee break, stretch the legs every hour would probably be better for people's health. I don't know. But hey, I found it tough to go through the full 3 hours. There's definitely some stuff I missed, 100%. There was a big discussion about relics. Oh my god, there were big arguments about relics. I feel like the relic thing, it felt like it lasted about 3 hours, but there was a lot to be said about relics, that's for sure. One thing that was very interesting, so they said, number one, they're surprised at how many relics people keep. That they were expecting people to. I guess you can sell them. Yeah, you can sell relics. I'm actually running really low on I actually ran out of starstones. Like I got yesterday, I got an essence quencher. I was like, cool. I would love to put that on Narcisse, but I couldn't because I didn't have enough starstone. But yeah, they said they were really surprised by how many relics people actually keep, which is interesting to me. I certainly think. I think it's interesting that they're surprised, right? They're surprised how many relics people keep. Specifically, I think the bad relics or like the mid relics, like the rare one, like probably a Journal of Necrotis. They're probably surprised. I think it's quite good. Or like I use quite a few Molten Death Bells, right? Just the extra accuracy is really good. I do slap some Malefic Talons on some damage dealers I used to farm stuff. I think it's really, for me, I would say my experience is that it's really fun to get relics on different units and to customize them that way. I think it's really cool. So that to me is part of what they might find surprising, is that actually even mid relics on like because you need, again, with Faction Wars Hard especially, you need so many champions. Getting relics on those champs and like the champs used to farm Doom Tower and Curse City and stuff like that, smooth, just makes the experience easier and it's better. So that's cool. Also, I do think it is something like I'm definitely getting to the point now where I'm like, I keep getting like these aspects of Siroth. They're probably definitely being fed. I personally am not a big fan of this relic. I think it's very overrated. I've already got like a couple. I've got 3 on. I'm like, I don't really need that many more. So I'm probably gonna start selling those, right? Pretty soon. But yeah, like again, I'm looking at these characters and like there's a few. Like these 2 characters are not too important. Those relics could go. Probably these as well, but so there's a few relics in there that definitely probably didn't need to level up, but I think most of them have a pretty good spot. Yeah, so I don't know, it's interesting. These are the relics I have. Like most of them are making a difference, I would feel. Here's all my relics. Look at all these relics. Wow. But yeah, so there you go. But yeah, they're surprised by that. So that's certainly interesting. They're surprised that players are keeping so many and that they're not just like trying to power up just a smaller selection of relics and just focusing, sacrificing the relics for them, which is interesting. It's interesting that they think it's interesting. Yeah, I think most people in the call when they heard that, I think had a very negative reaction. For me, I don't have a negative reaction to it. I'm thinking it's interesting for a variety. I mean, I think there could be some negative implications. I think there could also be positive implications. I think it's just interesting. I think it might change how they design it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I think it's interesting in a neutral way. Now, they also talked about how the relic economy is not complete yet, that they are still intending to add more ways to get more relics and that sort of stuff. I think they did also talk about potentially increasing maybe the number of Starstone and stuff like that from Chimera. They might have mentioned that too. But I think that's good. So yeah, they're saying, hey, if you feel like you don't have enough stuff to upgrade your relics right now, they're saying that, yeah, that's because you don't have all the sources of relics yet. So it's potentially a bit of a flaw. I do think they could have designed stuff a little bit differently. Like I do think it's one of the things that people were very, very upset about was that it's so difficult to get a maxed out relic. That to me was also very interesting, because it doesn't upset me. Like I'm not crying because I don't think I've ever thought, it's not even occurred to me to be upset that I don't have whatever a maxed out 6-star relic, just because it's basically impossible, right? But it's never really upset me that I can't. I actually felt like it seemed to me that it might depend on the sort of player that you are, because it seemed to me that the more money people have spent on the game, just looking at the content creators in the call, that the more money that an individual had spent, the more upset they were that you couldn't have a maxed out relic. And I wonder if that might be a thing. I wonder if there might be something to it. Because, I mean, you imagine if you spent like 100 grand or like 1 million or whatever, like that's what some people have spent, right? Imagine you spend 100 grand on the game and you've got like your +4, your 6-star, mythical, like all this crazy stuff. Like you've put like a ridiculous amount of money into the game and you can't have this relic maxed out. I think that might be where some people are bothered. So I think probably the amount that you spend in the game, whereas I think if you don't spend much, if you're free to play, you probably haven't noticed that much. But yeah, you kind of, I think it is a bit stupid though that you can't rank them up. Again, this is where it comes to me with the design of the game itself and what it pushes you to think. So for example, they're saying, well, the relic economy isn't complete yet, right? There's still many sources of relics, and the materials and everything, stuff still to come. And one example, Siege mode now, you can now get relic materials from Siege, so I think only the top ranks, which I think is silly, but hey, anyway. But you can get relic materials from Siege. We could actually look now and see. Let's just double check so I'm not just making shit up, which I do enough of. If we come into tier 6, no, it doesn't show, but you do get relic materials for being in 7, or it just doesn't display, which is kind of dumb. So they should improve that. I guess it would be in your victory chest is where it'd be different. But you don't actually see that. That's interesting. In the actual thing, you only see these rewards. You don't see all the other stuff, which has just been a display problem with Siege, I guess, since the start. Interesting as well. But yeah, you do get... So I don't know exactly what levels. Who knows? But hopefully it's not just at 7 and 8. Hopefully people at every rank of Siege can get some clan relic. But that was one example they gave of, look, there's more coming. Now, I would say, again, in terms of that design, if you are intending to add more stuff, like, here's the thing. you could have had relics come out and say 4-star max, right? And then let's say alongside this siege update, you could have said, okay, now we're unlocking 5-star relics. Okay. And then when they add, it seemed to me that they're planning to add even more stuff in the future. Say, okay, now we're adding 6-star relics, right? I do think it's a bit weird that they added the ability to get everything up to 6-star when it's basically impossible right at the start, and people couldn't do it. Like, that seems like the sort of thing that could be staggered. But then again, I guess that they're looking at it like, I guess if you just sacrifice all your stuff, you could just have a few relics. Like, you know, instead of trying to relic up multiple characters, you would have the option, I suppose. It just seems like a weird way to play to me, but just feed all of them and just get like 1 or 2 relics plus 18 already. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. Someone could work it out. I don't really care, but someone could. Yeah, they also said that, just in general, though, as well, they didn't seem really to care that people don't have, maxed out relics. It didn't seem like anything that's too important to them. And again, I think a lot of the people in the call were very upset by that. To me, again, I don't really care. If they want relics to be like a kind of a constant grind, that you'll always have, a big grind for the relics, that doesn't really bother me. That you'll always have so much upgrading to do. Again, that doesn't bother me because that's sort of Raid, right? Raid is the endless grind game. It doesn't bother me if relics are an endless grind, whereas I think some players are bothered. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, by the way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I do think a lot of people are bothered that they can't, like, complete, let's say, you can't complete a relic really effectively at all. I think there are 2 different ways of looking at it. People who want to complete the content and have it done, and then sort of the endless grind. I think that the way I saw it was more of an endless grind, and I think that's how the devs were seeing it as well, as more of the endless grind, where I think a lot of other people were seeing it as something that they want to complete and have the best relic. And they're done, right? They've got the best of the best on their, like, I think about in World of Warcraft as well, something I never really cared about, but people would get the best in slot gear, and that would give them a great sense of accomplishment. And to me, it just seems like, who cares? But so different perspectives, which is always interesting. And they're both very violent. I don't know which one is more representative of more people. Can we cater to both types? Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question anyway. It's just sort of the purpose of this. One thing that I think is really good news, limited edition relics will come back, right? So I know I've seen a lot of people worried, the Crown of Corruption, but I did ask them specifically about this. I think a couple of people did as well, and they sort of dodged the question of whether they'd ever rebalance these. Yeah, I have a Crown of Corruption, as you know. I think it's just a weird design that it's the best speed relic in the game when it's clearly supposed to be a damage relic. That to me is silly. Yeah, it's just maybe they're planning to add more totally overpowered speed relics in the future. I mean, I do think like the Torch of Thraldom is also crazy, but you need a full faction team. So yeah, maybe they're planning more. But anyway, they dodged that question. That was not answered, as far as I heard anyway. And I think I heard it asked a couple of times, and they neatly sidestepped the question of whether any relics would ever be balanced, but either buffed or nerfed. That completely dodged it. Though they did mention nerfs in general with the game and in other contexts, and we're basically like, we try to avoid nerfs as much as humanly possible. We don't like nerfing stuff. But yeah, but limited edition they will come back, which is good. So like the Cat's Gaze, for example, that will come back at some point in certain limited events. I still think they'll be very exclusive, right? They'll probably be very expensive events. It's not going to be easy to get them, but at least this stuff will come back. So, for example, I've not got a Skull of Treason yet. I'd really like one for, like, I don't know, a Sulfurion or something. I never got one. Cool. There will be other opportunities at some point. Or like if you don't have any Cat's Gazes, really, really, really good. There will be some potentially in the future as well. Like they're not gone away and they'll never come back, which is good. And yeah, so I'm just flicking through all my notes here. Similarly, clan level was another big one. People were very bothered about the clan level. Again, to me, it doesn't really bother me that we're not max clan level yet. Like, to me, I just don't care. Again, it's sort of the endless grind versus completing stuff. So I don't really care about this. Now, one thing they said that, all right, the change is already coming, and I do agree with this as a criticism. What is the point of having all these clan relics, but it's all the way at level 15 and 16, and we can't even get there? That is clearly really stupid, and that should never have been added to the game like it was. They are in a, I think maybe next patch, certainly soon that these are going to be moved down lower. Maybe the legendary ones will still be really high up, but they'll move the rare ones down and stuff like that. So that's fine with me. I think I personally don't care that that it's a stupid grind to get to level 30. Like, why not? I mean, we could just have level 10 be the max for every clan, and it's like sort of pointless, right? But I don't know. That's sort of how I see about it. I do think that the rewards, like especially all the medallions being basically unobtainable, is really dumb though. So at least that is changing. But yeah, there was a big debate about whether people should be maximum clan level or not, which to me, I really genuinely don't care about. Another interesting one about summoning. They brought up the anime style gacha banners, which would be like, I don't know, let's say Duchess Lilitu is up and you're guaranteed to get, or it's like a 50-50 to get her, or you're potentially in Etheria, you're guaranteed to get them after whatever, like 80 pulls or 100 pulls or whatever it is for the particular game. They said that, yeah, that's definitely a way to design a game, but it's not what they like doing. They don't think it fits Raid, and they don't want to do it in the game, so that's fine. They did mention, obviously, they do the decks of, they've done guaranteed champions in the past and decks of fate and stuff like that. They seem to like the deck of fate at the moment as a way to get guaranteed champions. They're typically very expensive. You need a mix of shards and soul stones has been the big thing recently. Shards and soul stones to get the champions. I personally think it's too expensive. But yeah, they're sort of just specifically on the anime game style, like the Hoyoverse style banners that they don't like. They said they don't like them. I think they really meant in the context of Raid Shadow Legends. They don't like them as a type of way to get champions for this particular game. Yeah. I asked them about Hydra. Any plans to update Hydra? Because remember, they said like, oh yeah, after they changed Hydra, that they weren't too happy with it, and they might update it again in the future. They said that they do have some specific ideas for what to change, but they also said that they have no. My impression was they have no immediate plans. So no plans, no changes planned for Hydra anytime soon was the impression that I had. And for example, we also know that they have 1 or 2 Hydra heads fully completed and designed. We know that from previous conversations, and they decided never to release them because people were finding Hydra too difficult. So again, it seems to me that they've got lots of potential stuff they could add to Hydra, but they've got no plans whatsoever to add it at the moment, is what it seemed. Someone brought up, I think actually one of the developers brought up Trenda, and said that they also have no plans to change Trenda right now, which I'm personally very disappointed about. They said that I think a lot of the content creators, not all of them, like some of them are very much anti-nerf, but a good chunk of the content creators would be pro-nerfing Trenda. But they said that that's not the feedback they get from the general community. I actually, interestingly, I put up a poll on my CVC livestream this week. 55%, I said, Trenda being nerfed, I would be happy, I would be sad, or I'm indifferent. 55% of people said indifferent. They just don't care. I think then 20% said they'd be sad, and then whatever, 25% said they'd be happy or something like that. So, and that's again from, as I mentioned before, YouTube audience. It's probably the most hardcore engaged audience. I mean, I will say for me personally, I just like God. This is the idea. This makes me want to quit the game, genuinely. The idea that every week I have to sit down and do an hour of the most fucking boring bullshit in the game. Like, I could not give a shit. Like, 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion. Couldn't give a shit about how big the numbers Trunda's putting out. Like, hang on. Like, you guys like big numbers? You say, like, wow, Trunda's doing such big numbers. Guys, check this out. This is going to fucking blow your mind. Look, hang on. My keyboard turned itself off. Like, look at this. Like, holy shit. This, to me, look how big this fucking number is. This, to me, is more entertaining than having to watch Trunda do big numbers in Hydra. Like, fuck that. Anyway, jump off. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox here today. I'm on my soapbox. But anyway, they've got no plans to change it. I mean, this is an optional thing. Like, I mean, it's something I've considered at some point. I love my clan, but I'm like, geez, like, I'm only going to manual Trunda keys for so long. And then I might just go to a more casual clan, which I don't want to do. It's stupid. It's fucking dumb. Like, but God, I genuinely hate it. Like, ugh. Maybe I'll just build an auto key and be like, guys, is that okay? But it might not be okay. And we'll see. But yeah, it genuinely. Again, Hydra's been out for years. I have zero interest. I'm the Hydra guy, but look, Hydra is old. It's old content. I have zero interest. Less than zero. I have a negative. The idea of a manual Hydra run at this point, for me, is not something I have zero interest in. I actually am actively opposed to it. That's my thoughts on that. It actively offends me. I asked them about Curse City. Any plans to change Curse City? And they basically said no changes planned for Curse City, which again to me is a disappointment because it did seem like when Curse City first came out that they were collecting feedback and it seemed like they were intending to maybe add new bosses to mix things up to do something different, but no, nothing coming for Curse City, at least in the short term, which is very disappointing. They did say that we definitely don't want to change it because it might make it harder and stuff like that. It seemed that they thought I was asking for them to make it harder. Which I definitely don't like. One of the big changes I would do, for instance, would be to nerf Amius on normal. I think he's too hard. That would be a big one. But yeah, another very interesting thing to me as well. They talked about how they see beating Amius as being the goal of Curse City every month, and doing this, clearing out Soul Cross. This is not the intended design. That this is designed as something that is totally optional. Which is very interesting because, again, I think that the way the game is laid out, where you've got rewards on every single floor, to me, it makes it, again, it gives you a sense of FOMO, that if you don't max out Soul Cross, you feel like you're missing out. And to me, I think if this was optional, instead of having like rewards for different floors, I would have like, and clearing 100 state, especially because so many of your candles here are locked behind clearing 101 stages and 12 awakened stages. So many candles, more than half of them, right? I think like 55 candles are behind the full clear. So to me, the game is very much telling you, you must clear everything. And if you don't clear everything, you suck. That's what the game design is telling me. That's how I read this. I suspect many players will feel the same. I don't know. I think if they came in and it was like, clear 80 stages, or clear 85 stages, whatever, that's the maximum reward. And instead of individual drops, you could even still have individual drops, but have most of it in there. So like, clear, even clear 90, clear whatever 90 stages you want and skip 10. So like you could skip all the Soul Cross, and you can more do it optionally if you want. Or if there are more paths through this, you could try to do the routes, because there's not really that much option in where to go. Like you just sort of get stuck on or you get stuck over here on stand. You just get stuck, right? There's just bottlenecks and you can't progress. There's not really much choice. It could be interesting if there was like choice in where to go. Or let's say, here's an idea. Let's say, okay, there's 101 stages. There's really good rewards in all of them, but you can only complete like 80. I don't know. Like you can't do them all, but you can pick and choose which ones to do. So the ones that you can't do, you can skip, or you go, man, I really wish I could get the essence, whatever, the red essence from stage 14 over here. I'll go build champion so I can hit up stage 14 next time, and then I can skip whatever stage 16. It's giving me ancient shards. I don't care about that, right? I just want the red essence. So you could have some choice, some sort of choice. I feel like there's not choice. I feel like it's just failing to complete stuff, which again to me is a general problem in the game. The same thing with advanced quests. It's the same thing with this. It's the same thing with Faction Wars Hard. Stuff that they are seeing as like optional and as choice, I don't think that's represented in how the game is designed. It doesn't, to me, have a design that says this is an optional stuff. You've got choice, pick and choose. It was so interesting. They talked about as well potential new content coming, and they did say exploration was sort of a minor theme of Curse City, but they did even say that you don't really, there's not really all that much exploration. So that's definitely something that they are looking to explore in future content in the game. So some sort of content where exploration is a big theme. And again, choice. And so we'll see. Hopefully they do it well. I don't know. But yeah, I would love that. I think exploration being a theme, so that'd be cool. They did mention the possibility of like content with potentially 7 new bosses for the end of this year. Really big content drop. New faction next year. They did mention that a world boss, something like that, could be possible as well. So they did have, again, lots of ideas for stuff coming. And interestingly as well, they did say that actually a couple of interesting things they said as well. Number one, I know the comment section. I know you guys love saying Raid it's about to die. It's on the cusp. It's the game. It's probably a month left. I bet probably a week, probably 24 hours, and they are just milking the players as hard as they can in the last gasps of the game. This sky, it's falling right now. You've seen it. It's about to hit us. We're about to die. They are milking us right now because they're all running away to Ibiza because the sky doesn't fall down there. I don't fucking know. Yeah, I know that's a darling of the comment section. I should just make a video just saying that and get so many likes. It'd be amazing, right? But no, they said that. I think someone mentioned like, you know, where your plans for the next like whatever 2 years or something, or like, will the game last 2 years if you don't change this? And interesting that they sort of laughed and like 5 years, even 10 years. I think that they're planning at least ahead, at least that much ahead. They're planning 5 to 10 years ahead today at this point, and they're probably, you know, would love to keep it going longer after that. So that their intent is for the game to keep going for a very long time, that they're not planning to cash out anytime soon. And indeed, how do you even cash out? I don't know. I think people just don't really. I think the numbers are so big, people don't really understand how much money this game makes every single month. And I don't know. They think you cash out of it. Whatever, man. Who cares? That was interesting. Another thing that was funny, they did talk about when on the quality of life and the silver thing. I thought was very funny as well. Was they're like, we see the comments all the time. People think that silver is so tight because, you know, so we can sell you silver. And like one of the developers just broke down laughing. Was like, trust me, nobody buys silver. Silver is not scarce because we're selling silver, right? That's not why it's really why we're reluctant to change the game economy or anything like that. Nobody buys silver. We don't make any money off silver. Presumably they make most of their money off shards and soul stones, I would guess. Mostly shards. I'm sure the big seller. Shards by far. But yeah, they're like, nothing to do with silver. None of the decisions we're making about silver are anything to do with selling the stuff. Like nobody buys it, or like so little as it does. Again, we're talking about a company here that makes millions every single month. Yeah, and like so it's a drop in the sea, drop in the ocean. There you go. That's again very long thing with multiple nub rants along the way as well. But yeah, that's sort of a lot of stuff we talked about. A lot of my thoughts on it as well. So yeah, I did feel like walking away from the call. There again, there wasn't all that much like tangible stuff of like, yes, we're definitely changing this, or this is what's happening. And again, that's not the goal of the call either. It's very much to have the discussion back and forth. And again, like you heard from me here today, I think that there's several things that they feel about the game that there's some that I do agree with. Like, you know what? If they're like, they didn't say like just get good for clearing faction wars hard, but you know, like if they're like, nah, we just really want faction wars hard to be really hard. You know what? I'm cool with that. I know a lot of the comment section are not, but I don't care. I'm fine with that. So I was like, I agree with that one. That's fine with me. And then there's plenty of stuff they said that I don't agree with. So, I mean, again, a perfect example is like offline background battles. I'm like, that to me, that's just something that should happen. Really, no question. Like, it's such an improvement. I don't agree with their reasoning on it at all. I'm also skeptical about the stuff on sale. We discussed lots of it. So yeah, there's some stuff I agree with, some stuff I don't. It's certainly interesting to see their perspective, and it was interesting as well for me to see the perspective of the other content creators and stuff as well. And there you go. You know, I cannot apologize enough. I know I'm the worst. If my thoughts on the game are different than yours, I'm going straight to hell, and I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Really, I truly am. Nub, why are you just not honest with us though? Why are you not honest? You know, because your opinion, you don't think exactly like I do about the game. The only possible reason that you don't think the exact same way as I do about the game is you are a liar, Nub. You're a liar, and I hate you. I hate you. I'm going off, mommy. Nub's so mean. I can't believe it. Yeah, it's been a few weeks over here. It's been an interesting experience recently. But yeah, that's everything. So yeah, we'll see when you know, it's one of those things where like I think we had one of these calls before and they basically said no to everything, and then they came back in the next call a few months later and like, you know what, we changed our mind. I one of the examples I gave was there's been lots of stuff they didn't change their mind on, right? But we're doing what we can here, the content creators. But yeah, like one of the things was epic empowerment. They're like, yeah, no, this seems dumb. And they basically said no. And then they came back a few months later and like, you know what? We thought about it after the call. We had discussions and we actually changed our mind. And like, you guys are right. We've added it. It's in the game now because of that. So yeah, I think that even if they say no, I don't know. Yeah, again, man. Yeah, comment sections, man. You know how it is with life in general. You don't win every argument immediately as soon as it happens. I think a lot of people live in a fantasy world, right? Where yeah, it's like, you are always right and everyone will instantly come around your perspective immediately, and that's that. I don't know. That's how I feel some people are. Uh nah. Sorry. I'm just gonna rant, so I'm gonna go because who wants to listen to me being bitter? See you next time. Thanks for watching. That's basically what happened. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.